Human trafficking survivor who smashed triathlon world record. Follow the Freedom Project on Twitter or connect on Facebook. What does it sound like inside Norma Bastida's head? The 49-year-old mother of two is a celebrated ultramarathoner, known to have trekked 150 miles across the scorched deserts of Namibia or run double marathons over an icy tundra in Antarctica. On these extreme endurance competitions, often the only sound accompanying the silent lyrics of her thoughts is the percussive beat of rubber soles on dirt trails or ancient ice. I try to be as kind to myself as possible, says Bastidas, of what she thinks about on these unyielding journeys. Because the world hasn't always been that kind. Any running enthusiast can rattle off the sport's many benefits: cardiovascular health, stress relief, weight control. Read more. But for Bastidas, running is mainly a release, the opportunity to clear her mind of past judgments and negative emotions. It will drain me if I evoke those feelings all the time, says Bastidas. Being able to master the emotions comes from the knowledge of Taoism. Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu developed Taoism, which encourages followers to flow with the natural ups and downs of life, roughly around the 5th century BCE. A fitting philosophy, given that Bastidas has experienced higher altitudes and lower depths than just about anyone can imagine. Photos. Norma Bastidas achieves triathlon dream. Norma Bastidas, the ultramarathoner. Norma Bastidas, a mother of two, is a celebrated ultramarathoner. Her achievements include trekking across the Sahara Desert and running a double marathon over Antarctica. Hide caption: 1 of 5 photos. Norma Bastidas achieves triathlon dream. Childhood abuse. Aged 19, Bastidas was offered a modeling job in Japan. Unfortunately, once she arrived in Japan, the job didn't materialize and she became a victim of human trafficking. Hide caption: 2 of 5 photos. Norma Bastidas achieves triathlon dream. Her son's diagnosis. After Bastidas escaped her traffickers, she later married and relocated to Vancouver, Canada. But she developed a drinking problem and her marriage failed. Hide caption: 3 of 5 photos. Norma Bastidas achieves triathlon dream. Marathoning for trafficking survivors. She took up running to cope with the stress she was facing, and within 6 months of putting on her first pair of running shoes, Bastidas qualified for one of the world's most high-profile races, the Boston Marathon. Hide caption: 4 of 5 photos. Norma Bastidas achieves triathlon dream. Raising awareness. It's been an incredibly long journey. I wish I could tell other human trafficking victims that it takes only 1 or 2 steps, but it is a commitment. I cannot undo what has been done, she says. Hide caption: 5 of 5 Mexico and a death in the family. Bastidas was born on November 1, 1967, in Mazatlán, Mexico. When she was 11 years old, her father passed away, and that's when the trouble began, she says. Things went bad really fast. My mom was a single parent with 5 kids, says Bastidas. I just became an incredible runner because of the incredible amount of stress that I had to manage. Norma Bastidas: we all worked, there was no safety net for us. Rather than help a struggling family, Bastidas says some family members took advantage of her vulnerability. My uncle, who was blind, and I was caring for, actually raped me, she says. The abuse Bastidas endured would continue affecting her in profound ways. Read more. Survivor: I was raped 43,000 times. The modeling offer that wasn't. Several years later, a local woman noticed Bastidas, by then a pretty 19-year-old, and offered her a modeling job in Japan. I remember my mom saying, "I'm afraid, but I can't stop you," says Bastidas. "Because this is the only chance for a better life. And we desperately wanted it to be true. It wasn't." Bastidas says once she arrived in Japan, the agency took her passport and set her up in an apartment. They then informed her she owed them for airfare, the apartment, and food. Thinking she'd soon be earning good money as a model, she complied. Read more. The Mexican town where boys are groomed to become pimps, but no modeling jobs ever materialized, no auditions were set up, and she was instead informed she must report to a members club in Tokyo. "What I didn't know is that I was being sold to the highest bidder," recalls Bastidas. "I was bought by a very prominent person and I became his property." Normas Bastidas was lured to Japan with the offer of a modeling job which turned out to be fake. Unable to speak Japanese, Bastidas was effectively trapped. "They take away your ability to look after yourself. I did not even see the person who brought me there," she says. Asked why she didn't try to escape to the police or call home, Bastidas explains, "I have a debt that I have to pay. And my family has no ability to send money for me. I can't go to the police. Because I am there, in Japan, and I do not have my passport. I had already been marked as a prostitute." But she says after a particularly violent encounter, she did try going to the police. Watch. Sex trafficking survivors use new ink to reclaim their lives. "I was drugged, beaten," says Bastidas of her attackers. "I went to the police and the police did not do anything. They said you were a bad girl. You work in a bar." Escape to Canada. After several years, Bastidas finally managed to escape her traffickers through help from a nearby convent. She later married and relocated to Vancouver, Canada. Beset by shame, Bastidas had developed a drinking problem in Japan as a way to numb the pain. Her marriage failed and she had trouble holding down a steady job. But Bastidas' breaking point came, she says, after learning her oldest son was diagnosed with cone rod retinal dystrophy, a degenerative disease of the eye which leads to impaired vision. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. In 2014, Norma Bastidas, then 47, was gearing up to break the record for the world's longest triathlon. In her journey from Cancun, Mexico, to Washington, Bastidas hoped to swim 95 miles. Hide caption: 1 of 11 photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. Bike 2,932 miles. Hide caption: 2 of 11 photos. photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey, and run more than 700 miles. Hide caption 3 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. About 30 miles into her attempt, Bastidas had to start over because her GPS tracking device malfunctioned. Without proper data, the miles wouldn't have counted for the Guinness World Records. Hide caption 4 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. A year earlier, Bastidas didn't even know how to swim. But on March 20, she finished the swimming leg of the triathlon in the Caribbean. Hide caption 5 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. Filming is underway for a documentary about Bastidas' journey. The child advocacy group I Empathize hopes Be Relentless will help fight human trafficking in the United States and Mexico. Hide caption 6 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. I stand and I speak, Bastidas says about being a victim of sexual abuse. I do not quit. I do not give up. They can take everything except my dignity. Hide caption 7 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. After finishing her swim, Bastidas jumped on her bike to travel more than 2,900 miles from Cancun to Atlanta. You're only as strong as your greatest accomplishment, she says. Hide caption 8 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. Mexico's federal police escorted Bastidas as she biked an average of 130 miles a day through the country. Hide caption 9 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. Bastidas crossed the U.S.-Mexico border at Laredo, Texas, on April 4. Hide caption 10 of 11 photos. Photos. Woman attempts world's longest triathlon, a relentless journey. In an April 15 posting to Facebook, Bastidas wrote, "Finally I got to the running portion of the triathlon. Just like a triathlon has 3 sports, I am also trilingual. Swimming is like my Japanese, didn't come easy and I can do it, but I have to think a lot during to get it right. Cycling is like my English, very comfortable, can do it incredibly well, but running is my mother tongue, I feel at home." Hide caption 11 of 11. Here I am, vulnerable, a single parent, I just lost my job. I have a child who is 11, she says. And the first person to ever rape me, when I was 11, was a blind relative. It was too much for me. It was almost like I cannot escape my past. But Bastidas says instead of handling the situation like she always had, with alcohol, she decided to break the cycle. I knew I was putting my kids at risk not being present. And I needed to be present to find a solution, she says. So I started running at night. Because I didn't want them to hear me crying. Why I run. Within 6 months of putting on her first pair of running shoes, Bastidas qualified for one of the world's most high-profile races, the Boston Marathon. I just became an incredible runner because of the incredible amount of stress that I had to manage, she says. It gave me something that I can control. I couldn't control the rate of progression of my son. I couldn't control whether they were going to fire me again. But I could lace up and train. Soon after, Bastidas climbed the 7 highest peaks on each continent, to raise money to find a cure for childhood genetic blindness. Raid reunites trafficked tea plantation sisters. Then in 2013, she had another big idea and called a friend, Brad Riley, who runs the anti-trafficking group, I Empathize. She's on the phone saying, I want to do something big for human trafficking. And to face this in my own life and to make it an anthem for other survivors, says Riley. The next thing you know, we're dreaming up the world's longest triathlon. Their idea was to have Bastidas set the world record by following a known route of human traffickers. Over the course of 65 days in 2014, Bastidas ran, biked, and swam from Cancun, Mexico, to Washington, D.C. When we looked at the distances of what it was going to take to swim, bike, and run from Cancun to D.C., the numbers were immediately there. She was going to almost triple the men's record, says Riley. She would do 6 to 10 miles in the water, day after day. Then when it switched to the bike, she would do anywhere from 100 to 120 miles, day after day. And then she would run anywhere from 30 to 40 miles, up to even 100 miles straight. At the time, CNN chronicled Bastidas' harrowing 3,762-mile journey, which was beset by malfunctioning technology, wildlife attacks, and roadside accidents. I Empathize filmed the entire trip, which is the subject of a feature-length documentary called Be Relentless. An Indiegogo campaign is now hoping to raise a total $50,000 to complete the project. Human trafficking is what happened to you. It's not who you are, Bastidas says. Every single time we doubt human trafficking victims have potential, we are quietly and ignorantly saying it's your fault. And that's so wrong. Running to inspire. And while Bastidas tries to keep her mind clear during those long runs, she refuses to forget what she went through as a victim of human trafficking. To be effective as an activist, I have to be able to feel the pain and humiliation I experienced, especially when so many people still blame victims, she says. Feeling everything is a curse, but so is numbness. The greatest moment came at the end of her Guinness World Record run, when she was met by cheering crowds of trafficking survivors, who ran alongside her in the final miles to Washington, D.C. Perhaps the most fitting message for everything Norma Bastidas has gone through, comes from the one quote attributed to Lao Tzu many people know by heart: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. As much as setting the record was about gaining recognition for the problem of human trafficking, Bastidas says it was also about proving to other survivors that circumstances, and self-perceptions, can change. It's an incredibly long journey. I wish I could tell them it takes only 1 or 2 steps, but it is a commitment. I cannot undo what has been done, she says. But by living large, I'm empowering every single victim. Somebody who was once living in a nightmare is now living out her dreams. Because that's what a world record is, it's a dream. Watch how the world's busiest airport is fighting human trafficking.